Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Minority Reportz podcast and digital series. I am your host, Mona Sheikh. You guys, what is happening? It is TGIF. It's Friday. I'm glad this week is over. It's been a long week, and I'm glad. It was just kind of like snail-like. It was just kind of crawling, like I had stuff to do, and it was just weird. So I'm just glad the weekend is here. It's the freaking weekend. I'm so happy, and I'm very excited about my guest today. Because this guest is not just a guest. She's become a really, really good friend, and I consider her a dear friend. Her story is amazing, and I want her to come on and talk to us about her story. But this person, came from India, got an engineering degree, is like highly accomplished, and was just like, you know what? That's not good enough in life. Let me also do stand-up comedy and be actually really good at it. So I'm gonna introduce her, and we're gonna hear from her. My very talented friend, Mansi Mehra. How are you?
Hi!
Yay! So nice to see you. I was saying before we started that how fabulous your hair looked.
Oh, thank you. And I think, like I said, I have to keep up with Mona. So keeping up with the Sheikh.
Keeping up with the Sheikh, baby. It's funny because anytime I have guests or friends come over, they're like, oh my God, Mona, you always have your nails done and your hair and your makeup. I'm like, yeah, this is the only time I don't feel like garbage about myself. So I just try to put in an effort. Because during the pandemic, dude, everybody's like walking around in sweatpants and pajamas. Nobody wants to dress up.
You don't want to know what I'm wearing down, I'm wearing slippers, so just saying.
Slippers is fine. I thought if you were like sitting in your chuddi or something, then I'd be like, oh.
That's also impossible. This is just my shirt and jacket, and that's about it.
You're like, I'm free balling below. I have the fan blowing to keep me cold.
Very much possible. Pandemic is possible. I wore this. I was like, who's going to wear this? And I was like, no, I think I'd rather look sophisticated. From the top.
No, you look fantastic. So, Mansi, you and I have been friends for a little bit. You've done a ton of of Minority Report shows, and it's always a pleasure having you, and you always do such a great job at them. I want to actually kind of go back into your story about, you were born and raised in Delhi, and you've had a very interesting life. Like you are very much a self-made woman. I mean, you were, in Delhi, and you didn't really have a pretty big support system. So tell me about like how you even ended up in America.
I think that was accident. I swear to God, it was accident. Well, I was, my dad was in the army, so I've like traveled all over India, and I've been, my parents are from Delhi, but I've traveled all over India for my studies. And after that, last stop that I made was in Mumbai. And that's where I was working with the multinational company where things went downhill and wasn't really good. It wasn't a good experience. But with that, what happened was somebody from that company had challenged me that he will throw me out of the company. And I said, and that was the year of 2008, the recession year. So he said, if I throw you out, nobody's going to even take you back because there's no point. Like they're not going to be hiring. It's, recession going on. So I told him, I said, you know what? That's fine. Let's see who wins this. And he was my boss. And I said, you know what? I don't know. I'm fairly new to corporate world. So what am I going to do? And I said, do or die. So either I'm going to be at a place where you wanted to go and you were never able to make it, or I'll be out of the company if you win.
Well, so what was his problem? Why was he threatening to throw you out?
There was a lot of, I think he had some issues with, North Indians working in Mumbai. A lot of people come up with this prejudice. You know how it is, like immigrants coming and working in America, similarly North Indians coming to work in Mumbai. There are these issues all the time. And like Pakistanis working in India, they always have these issues, right? Whenever you're not from that spot, even within Delhi, even if you are in North India, and they'll be like, oh, now you're not from this space. Like, come on. Yeah, so that kind of mentality he came with, right. And also a woman really taking charge of things, and he just couldn't take it. So, and knowing myself, I mean, honestly, at that time I didn't know myself that well that, I'll be behaving this way, but I realized that I was pretty strong-headed. I said, what, let's take it. And 10 months, I just worked my ass off at work, as well as worked my ass off getting admission in America. And I said, I don't know what it is like. I have no idea what's on the other side of the globe, but we'll take a chance. And I did.
And so you're at this company and he's like, I'm going to throw you out. And you're like, all right, fucking challenge accepted, fucker. Bring it.
I really wish he's listening to this because I went back and checked. I checked on him. I found out he was demoted and he was, the team was taken away from him. It was like,
right, he sounds like a horrible leader.
Yeah, he was. And then I think over the period of time, it was just not me. There were so many other females who had complained about him. So it kind of, bit him back. So I feel sad for the other people or, people who didn't raise their concerns. I think it's important for women to just voice their concerns and just not be, just taking bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, Mansi, you and I come from Pakistan, you come from India. Our cultures really forbid and it really discourage and even punish women for speaking up when they do. Like he was holding repercussions against you. He was like, you speak up and you complain, you're going to be out of a fucking job in the middle of a recession. Like, what a piece of shit.
Yes. And that's what I think he had a misconception. Maybe he had seen women like that, she's going to shut down as well.
Subservient.
He came across the wrong one. So
yes, he fucking did, fucker. So you're working your ass off for 10 months, and then you're simultaneously also applying for jobs in the US?
Not just jobs. I was applying for jobs in India. I was preparing for CAT for MBA in India. I was working my ass off to make sure that I sustain in the company just for the time being so that, I don't lose my job and then look for the next step. I rather sustain in the company while he's trying to make up a plan to kick me out. And in the meantime, I was applying. I gave my GRE. I gave my TOEFL exam. I studied for everything so that I can come to US and I didn't know what to expect, because I was well qualified. I had good certifications. I was Microsoft certified, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Still, I wasn't sure what kind of ability I have or, are my credentials good? Hey, Tim. I wasn't sure. But then end of the day when I had applied to 6 universities, Mona, and you will not believe out of 6, 5 of them admitted me. And 2 of them gave me scholarships.
Wow. Like full paid scholarships.
Yeah. And I said, you know what? I didn't think of myself having so much credibility. I was underestimating myself. But I think over the period of time, as I learned more about, what I can do and what I'm capable of, I think it just kept going from there. Yeah.
Where do you think that comes from, Mansi? That kind of low self-esteem, I guess maybe you can call it, or not giving yourself credit. What do you think? Is that cultural? Is that familial? Is that kind of family you grew up in? Where does that come from?
All of it. It's a mix of all of it. It's a mix of background you come from. It's a mix of culture. A lot of the times, especially in engineering, it's so sad to see even today. Forget about, I'm not even talking about 90s and 2000. I'm talking 2021. There are times when I walk in a room and I'm the only female.
Wow.
And I am not talking to just guys, someone from just college. I'm talking from full-grown men who are 50s, 40s, and, engineers, architects in the room. And then when I walk in, I'm the only female.
Wow. Well, I mean, this level of disparity, Mansi, you think women are just kind of discouraged? I mean, when you went to college in Delhi, how many women were in your engineering classes?
Well, thankfully, I happened to go to a college which was all women. I happened to, and that's one of the rarest colleges. I think most of them are, and this is something which a lot of engineers who are listening would vouch for. Not many. So the ratio is super bad, terrible. If it's a co-ed, it's super bad. It's so bad that if you are 3 chicks in the room, then all the guys are eyeing on you because it's a competition and it's 60 guys and 3 chicks. That's about it.
Wow.
So, or I'd say if I had to exaggerate, it'll be 10 girls. But if you go to IIT, there'll be probably 3 to 5 girls and then rest are guys. So, and then you don't know whether those 3 or 10, whatever the number is, is that number going to sustain in the long run? Like, even if you get your degree, doesn't mean that your family or you or your husband or your extended family is going to push you and let you pursue that career because you have other responsibilities and you are bound to have those first.
Right. Getting married and getting knocked up and taking care of children.
Yes.
Because
there's more to it. No, come on. There's like cooking, cleaning.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed out on those very important chores.
Yeah, just brushing their egos. That's it.
Well, I'm gonna like speak Urdu or Hindi for a little bit, and then I'm gonna translate it for my viewers. But in Pakistan we have the same thing. We have there's been a problem where all these women who are doctors get married, and then their husbands are also doctors, and they don't want to feel threatened, so they tell their wives to stay home and cook and clean and get pregnant and just take care of the family, right? Because that's a woman's job and a woman's duty, which is so fucked up because these are very highly patriarchal, misogynistic environments, But we have this saying in Urdu, at least that's what we say. It's just like doctor से शादी करनी है और उसको डॉक्टर को पे घर लाके उसको खाना बनवाना है उससे झाड़ू पोछा करवाना है. Doctor से झाड़ू पोछा करवाएंगे. Like, in other words, like, I'm gonna have a doctor daughter-in-law, and then I'm gonna bring her home only for her to cook and clean and fucking mop the floor for me.
Yeah, so you want a learned sweeper.
Right, you want an educated house cleaner.
Well qualified and fully certified with full degree. My sweeper has a doctorate degree.
That's correct. Like my cook right now in the kitchen. Yeah, she's a heart surgeon, but guess what? We're not putting back
my heart.
But she makes a mean chicken curry. It's just like it's it's really sad, Mansi.
Do you get asked that? Do you get asked that? You're so well achieved, and after that, how well do you cook? Like, does it ever come? Do people ask you that question?
You mean people as in fellow desis?
Dates, yeah, in your dates. Like, do they expect you that, oh, you've done this and this, and you do, Mona, you're doing this and this, that's so cool. But let me ask you this question. Do you cook?
I don't go out with fuckers like that.
She's like already vetted them.
That's the first thing I do. I get on a call. I'm like, are you going to ask me a fucking cooking question? I'm going to hang up on you right now. As a matter of fact, actually, I'm quite shameless. I ask them. I'm like, do you cook?
Nice.
I ask them, I'm like, do you cook? Like, what are like some of the domesticated stuff you do? Are you a good baker? And the guy's like, oh, I love to cook. I'm like, great. Then I'll be kicking back.
Well, just for the record, she's an amazing cook. She doesn't want to speak it up. But she is.
I do love to cook. It's true. I cooking for me is relaxing, but I don't really. Have you been asked that? Like, have you been on dates or talking to guys and they're like, can you cook?
I get asked obnoxious questions all the time. Yeah, like not just cooking. There's like so many of them. First time I remember there was one guy who asked me the first question.
Are these Indian guys? Are these white guys? Who are they?
Indian guys. Okay. They would ask me. There's one guy who directly asked, like, okay, what's your visa status? I'm like, excuse me.
Visa status?
Yeah. Then there's another trick to it. Then you ask, if you don't want to ask straight up, they'll be like, okay, so how long have you been in the country? Okay, so how long have you been working? So how long have you been staying in LA? And then where have you been working? And what have you been working? And how much have you studied? With all those characteristics, once you know that, you kind of understand where they are, if they are in the visa process or not, or what if they are a citizen or not.
Right.
So it's a trick. I
once dated this Pakistani guy. He's a producer. He was an idiot. He's also a fucking drug addict and alcoholic, but that's besides the point. And I remember when I was dating him, he was kind of a little bit on the shorter side. At least in the beginning we got along. He was all right looking. He wasn't like a hottie or anything. And he couldn't believe that I was interested in dating him. So he kept asking me if I needed a citizenship. And I was like, your low self-esteem is dictating this question right now? Like, you can't process a girl like me would date you. So the only thing you can come up with is that I need my citizenship by marrying you? Like,
right. Yeah.
I'm like, no. I'm like, I am a citizen. Don't worry about it. I don't need shit from you.
It's like in your face.
Fuck you. Fucking check into AA, you fucking drug addict motherfucker. The fuck out of my face. Like, for real.
See, with these, I think just overall this whole picture of understanding, just thinking about citizenship or other parameters, it's become very sad because then you overlook the other qualities that you will realize when you find someone who's a loser, someone who doesn't have self-esteem, someone who's not achieved much, even if they haven't, even if they're living a basic life, you will realize what you're losing when you miss a woman like that.
Yes.
Asking these questions, just think about it, that what's in it for you when you are not just looking at the basic aspects of like citizenship, or maybe because I'm rich, or because I'm hot, or because I have fame, or because I have all that bullshit crap. Can you just keep it aside? Because you're marrying the person, or you're dating a person, or you're being with a person, and there's much more to be on the table. Like, there's so much more we bring to the table. So come on, like, just open your eyes.
Right. And you're not like here on like a visit visa, and then just like, I'm here on a visit visa trying to get a husband. It's like, no, you've been here, you're established, you're you have a full-blown career, you make really good money, you're incredibly self-sufficient, you're educated. Like, all these things people just want to overlook and then ask you dumb questions like, oh, do you need a citizenship? It's like, motherfucker, you ain't that hot. Like, relax.
That's so true. That's so true. I also feel like over the period of time, I think once people start knowing you, or if they've lost you, I think that's when in retrospect they think, oh shit.
Has that happened to you where?
Oh yeah,
sure. Like they come back and they're like, oh, I messed up, I'm so sorry. That happens to me, so I'm sure it happens to you.
That does so many times.
What do you say to these guys, like when they come back after 5 or 6 months or a year? Oh, I messed up. What do you say to them?
Too late, honey. Too late. I'm so sorry. It's taken. The ship has sailed. No, I reached the next station now.
I mean, you know what's interesting, Mansi, is that these guys will probably repeat that same pattern with another woman because their mentality is as such that they only think of, there's a lot of men out there, right? Sadly, I have dated a few of them, who think that women are just out there to get your money. They're out there to just take from you, to just like leave, like they want to marry you, have your shit, and then tell you to fuck off. And it's like, if you can't differentiate a good woman from a gold digger, that's on you. That's not my problem. I want a partner, not a project. So if you're a fucking project, I gotta go.
That is so true. Very well put, Mona. I do like when you said you need a partner, and I think I really feel if men start looking, and those specific men start looking at things that, especially in places like LA, New York, San Francisco, where it's so hard to self-sustain, or like just, you can self-sustain, but if in a family, if you're the only source, it's so hard. You're like hand to mouth because it's, it's so expensive. Having a partner, and in every aspect, whether it's a house or outside, it just makes life so much better. Like, why can't you look at it like that? That, oh my God, this woman has so much to give. I have so much to give. It's a win-win situation. Why don't we partner up and have a good life and have a good family? Like, it's just so much easy to look at it like that. But just with all these preconceived notions they come with, oh my God, it's so sad. I'm like, dude, it could have been so much better if you, had an open mind. But unfortunately, that's fine. I'm so happy that it didn't happen a lot of times, because if that's the mentality you come with, I think in the long run, a lot of other issues could have come up because of mentality. Yeah,
right. I mean, sooner or later shit is gonna hit the fan. Sooner or later. Yeah. Right, because that's the kind of mentality you always live in, right? Yeah. I mean, Mansi, when you were in India, I bet you were back in 2008. Like, were you going on dates back there, or like you were just focused on work, or was that even a thing back then?
It was a thing. I wouldn't say just dating. It was like a long-term relationship. It was going quite well until his mom was not so happy, and his mom's like, "Oh, she's snatching my son. She's snatching away." And I said, "No, I'm not snatching away." And the next thing she gets, she goes, "Oh, maybe because my son is earning money, so she's after his money." And I laughed my ass off. I said, "Your son is a copywriter. I'm an engineer. I think I'm earning more than him."
Wow.
It doesn't matter. I didn't think about it, but now you bring money to the table. Let me tell you, I'm going to US, and it still doesn't matter to me. I was still talking to that guy, and the mom's like, "She's after my son's money." I was like, "Yeah, sure, because he's in rupees and I'm in dollars." So that's how I got.
Isn't that so sad? But see, and it goes back to this past week. I had I forgot which was the guest I was talking to about how. Oh, just yesterday actually. It's so funny. Kate Willett is a comedian based in New York City, and I had her on, and we were talking about how men are raised. Right? I mean, the reason that women like you and I, who are we're smart, we're independent, we make our own money, we're successful. For us to struggle with finding a decent human being as a partner is really challenging. And it goes back to mothers like that, right? Mothers who are like, "My son is making so much money." It's like, bitch, he's a copywriter. She's going to America with a fucking engineering degree. Are you... what kind of crack are you smoking? Like, what is wrong with you, right? But it's that kind of mentality where the mothers are not raising their sons well. They're not. This is a problem globally where they're teaching their sons to be like, "Oh, you are the fucking king of whatever," right? And any woman would be so lucky to be with you. And it's like, chill out.
But I don't think there's a problem in there, because eventually you see the results now. You see what's going to happen to the girl when she excels in her, career or wherever, and what guy lands up with. And end of the day, if the mom is so intrusive, eventually it will impact the long-term relationship wherever he's going to have. It's not going to be ending there. So I think there has to be, and I've learned this from America, and I've learned this from this culture, where people also have this habit of minding their own business, which is so beautiful. At least when it's a husband and wife relationship, it's just like between them, and it's not it's nice to have the entire family, but then when it comes to disputes or like personal matters, if you keep it between the two people, it just makes it cleaner. I hope people, at least guys, especially in India, I've seen that, have that, bring up that mentality of like keeping the family outside when it comes to any kind of disparity or any kind of dispute. So,
right. James said, another issue I've seen is that a person has a love interest, but the other person is deeply flawed, and the person thinks that they will change after marriage. Yeah,
that's a very valid point. Yeah, I think especially with the one thing I've learned, and this is a lesson learned. It didn't come naturally to me, but this was from a relationship, that you can't change a person. As simple as that. You can't change a person. This is what you get. You like it, take it. Don't like it, leave it. Don't sign up for something.
I mean, Mansi, it's so hard to change yourself.
Oh yeah.
How could you put that on somebody else to be like, "I need you to change because this version of you is not entirely making me happy, so I need you to adjust."
Statement. It's not a project that I want to take up. It's a partnership.
Not a project I want to. You have drug addictions. I gotta go. You got mama problems. I gotta go. You got trauma you don't want to resolve. I gotta go. Right. You're a drug addict. I gotta go. Alcoholic. I gotta go, man. It's not my problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a real thing. Now, is the divorce rate very high in India now, Mansi?
Suddenly, these past 5-10 years, I'd say, it's increased exponentially, and it's pretty sad to see that the marriages have not even lasted. Forget a year, like they've not lasted even for months, or I've seen 2 weeks also, and you have to wait for the divorce for real change. So it's exponentially increased. It's pretty much adapted what's been happening in the West. So it's no longer like the traditional Indian marriage. Like, people can't stand each other and just get divorced. It's pretty sad.
I mean, it's sad, Mansi, but it's also, what would be sadder, to stay in a relationship because your entire financial dependence is on a man. That is even sadder.
That's even sadder. That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying that just how people had tolerance earlier, sometime back. What are you drinking? That looks nice.
It's water with lemon.
Come on, I was thinking about something. I thought it was like, oh, something's orange here.
Vodka or something.
Whiskey.
Like a clear margarita or something. No. Not that fancy at all.
So it has increased, but I mean, it's just the way how people have now been tolerant.
You didn't have marriage proposals while you were coming to America? Because that's what I got. I got a whole bunch of marriage proposals before I came to the U.S. Oh, yeah. They were like, take my son with you. I'm like, I'm good.
Oh, that way. Mm-hmm. No, I didn't have that way. I remember when I was in my undergrad, and my father was also very, my parents, both of them had this thing that, let the girls do what they want to do. Mm-hmm. That was definitely there. And I know for a fact that, they believe that, okay, if you're doing engineering, finish your studies. They never had this thing that, okay, you have to get married. So I remember one day my father comes home and he says, he tells my mom, I went to a store and some uncle was trying to, call me in the corner. I said, what happened? And my mom's like, who's this uncle? What is it about? And he goes, oh, it's a marriage proposal for Mansi. And we laughed. We just laughed. We just it was not even a question. Obviously not. So I was so happy because everybody laughed at it. I think my mom was drinking water. She spat out. But it was just funny. And I think now that I look at it, like how families behave, that, oh, wow, it's a nice, and apparently his last name was also Mehra. We were from the same, background or something, or same, whatever whatever we call the same last name. And this guy was both the brothers. I think they said they were two brothers and they both were in America. And that's when I was doing undergrad. There was no plan of coming to America. So I just laugh at the whole situation that what if I had gotten married to some Mehra back in 2003, 4, and by doing undergrad and decided that, oh, wow, it's in America and I want to go there. And that would, if I was that person, and there are a lot of people like that.
Sure.
So, it would have been such a different life. And now having your own...
You probably won't be doing stand-up, Mansi. You probably won't be doing stand-up comedy.
Of course. You're talking stand-up? I won't be an engineer. Too far. I might be a good cook, or maybe not. I don't know.
Probably just burning the house down. You're like, I want to do engineering.
Yes. That's possible.
Man, isn't that sad though, Mansi? Sometimes when you and I are pretty notorious for doing South Asian gigs, right? Whether it be emceeing events and stuff like that. And one of the key things I always notice is these beautiful ladies, gorgeous women, married to some ugly ass people. And you're like, yo, this dude is fucking ugly. Do you fuck him with the paper bag on his head? Cause this motherfucker is ugly. And then you're like, oh, you're beautiful. You were young. So he went back to Pakistan, or they might go back to India and find like the hottest chick they can get their hands on, and then bring her here and then just keep her as like a trophy wife or whatever, knock her up, let her have multiple children and just have her under their thumbs. And like, that's it. That's the thing. Now, I'm not saying that's for everybody, but that seems to be a trend that I've seen. Because I see some beautiful ladies, and I asked one of them. I saw her, and I saw her husband, and I almost vomited in my mouth. I was like, you sleep with this guy? Like, you have children with this man? Like, wow. You let him see you naked. This is disgusting. And I asked her, I'm like, you were really beautiful. I'm like, you're really beautiful. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, that's how you ended up in America? Like, you married this? She was like, yeah. She's like, yeah, that's what these guys do. They have money or they have some kind of career. They go to Pakistan. They find the hottest, youngest thing they can get their hands on, and they bring them here. And they don't have to date. They don't have to put up with the wife has to put up with them.
These are a pick and come. Yeah, I get it. It's pretty sad because I literally experienced this a few weeks ago. It's really sad to say this, but unfortunately, I have seen in my circle where I asked the person, hey, what were you up to? Were you laughing? Were you
laughing the way you're setting it up. I don't know why I'm cracking up.
It is so sad. Literally, I asked the guy, he's a good friend of mine, and I'm sorry if I'm, busting the bubble, but I really didn't like, and I don't give a shit. I asked him, what are you up to? And he goes, oh, I'm going to India. And I was like, oh, why? How come? Like, it's COVID. What are you up to? Why are you going to India? He goes, oh, well, it's so lonely here, and I'm not able to find a girl over here. So I'm going to get a wife in India. I was like, what? It's like, are you buying a car? Like, I'm going to the store.
That's exactly what he's doing.
What the fudge? Like, I want to go to India and get a guy. Like, I just buy a guy? Like, just go and pick up a guy and just come here. It's like so sad. And then obviously you hear this less when a girl says like, I'm going to go to India and get a guy. Yeah. But I've seen so often that it's a thing and it's normal. Why is it so normal that, just tell, you know what, I'm going to go. You couldn't find a girl in your premise or in America, but you think that obviously I'll have definitely someone in India and I'll be able to find a girl. So I can just go to India, find like go 2-3 months and be able to find a girl. Like,
and he's going to Mansi, sadly. He will.
He is. And
she'll be beautiful too. And she won't be ugly either.
Yeah.
She'll be really pretty.
And the way it's gonna be put out is, the guys in America is gonna be put out as like the guy's earning well and he's got a career, all that good stuff. But I feel like, is that what charms? Like, then you're putting the guy on a pedestal and then you're saying, you know what? Oh, he's got everything, so you just gotta go with the flow and go with him. I just feel that whole dynamic is so different because in the long run, it's always gonna be like, I got you here. And I'm not demeaning the person I'm talking about, but I'm talking about the trend. Because here's what's the problem. Mona, there have been people especially in California I've seen, but I can only talk about California because that's what I know about, but I'm pretty sure this is happening in other states as well. People bring the girl, they are on visa, they have a dependent visa, the girl has a dependent visa. Tomorrow the girl and guy have a fight. The guy will torture her, not help her in her visa, ask her to get the fuck out. So basically she's thrown out of the country because the guy doesn't want it anymore. So she's a puppet in the guy's hands because it's all dependent on the guy. Right. And now the guy becomes manipulative. What kind of bullshit? Now, okay, there is a problem here, but don't you think it's starting from where it all began?
Right.
If you are letting the other person dictate on his terms, then, I think you were at fault. Before signing up, you should have read the terms and conditions.
Right. I mean, you know what it is, Mansi? I mean, just to play a little bit of a devil's advocate, there's also hope, right? You got to have some kind of hope. You got to have some kind of faith in a person to be like, I hope that I'm thinking that this person's a nice person. I'm hoping that this person's a kind person. But if they turn out to be an absolute douchebag, that was just going to be sadly part of the process that you were going to learn, while being with them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I hear you, but I also feel like as a girl or as a female, anytime you make a decision, why don't you just stand up on your own feet and sometimes just make those calls rather than thinking that, once I go to America and I'll do this and this, and then I will explore my opportunities. A lot of people come with this perception that once I'm in America, I will have my business set up. I will have my clothing line or whatever the side thing I like to do. I will do it there once I reach there through some means. Like, seriously, give me a break.
Yeah. I mean, but you know what it is, Mansi? Like, not a lot of women, people don't always think like that, for some women. And also for women, it's, when you're being dumbed down at home to be like, you're a woman, like your entire job, right, is to like get married and have kids, and all that stuff comes later, just do it later, I think in your instance and my instance, and I don't know how comfortable you are about talking about this. I mean, but look, I mean, I grew up with boys. Like, I have 4 older brothers. I mean, I was raised like a son. I wasn't necessarily raised like a daughter so much, Right. I wasn't raised to be like, you're going to get married one day. That was never really part of the conversation for us. It was all about get educated and then we'll see where the fuck things happen. Right. And I feel like also because I grew up with a father who was, as independent as he pushed me to be, he was also, I guess not very emotionally dependent because he was pretty emotionally unavailable. He had tremendous demons of his own.
Which, in retrospect, might have worked in your favor in the long run because you are very independent and you are not dependent on any of those people. I feel like you
Right.
drive your own thing all the time, whether it's a show or it's, anything you do in your life. I think you've been very self-driven because of the same reason.
Yes, and you know what it is, Mansi? As much of as the positive as it is, it also is a double-edged sword, right? I recently read this quote. It said extreme independence is a form of trauma. And I 100% agree with that, right? For us to be able to open ourselves and make ourselves vulnerable to a man, it's fucking hard. It's really hard because we never really had, at least I hadn't had men I could really just depend on. I always had to rely on myself. So now when it comes to intimate relationships, it becomes a challenge. It becomes this power struggle, right? Where the man is like, I want to take care of you. And I'm like, no, fuck off. I don't want you to take care of me.
Actually, I think I've also seen this pattern that, when it comes, somebody told me, one of my very good friends, she said, if he wants to hold your bag, let him do that.
Right.
Like, I can pick my bag myself.
That's
and she goes, no, that's what you don't do. You fucking let them pick the bag. I was like, I mean, it's very light. It's not that heavy. And she goes, no, just let them pick the bag. I was like, all right, fine. Just pick the bag.
I have noticed, Mansi, that if I'm dating a guy and if I'm carrying bags and he doesn't offer, that's a huge red flag for me.
Oh, wow. Well,
huge red flag.
I learned this also in America when I saw, it's not an Indian thing, but I think in America, chivalry is obviously, you open the door, you hold the door, you pull the chair. There's like so many of these different, very nice etiquettes I've seen where people, are they tend to be chivalrous, at least in the beginning. But in India, I don't think that's a thing. So they'll just come and sit, and I'm like, all right, you sit there.
Really?
And this is not a thing. I'm not saying all of India. I can't speak to like the entire country.
Of course not.
But I'm just talking in general. It's not surprising if it doesn't happen. Like, you're not really expected. This doesn't come naturally to them unless they've seen it in movies and they are kind of imitating the West. That's when it happens. But to be honest, it's not something it's not second nature to them. Yeah.
So if you go on a date with a guy in India, he's not going to ask you like, hey, where would you like to go eat? Let me make reservations. And you wait. He's not doing any of that?
I think, it's been a while that I now, I've been living here for a while now, but I at least remember there was a time there used to be no reservations. Like, we just walk in and the guy would be like, okay, we'll just go to any other place. Now I definitely have seen people, with the whole style of having those, making some date plans or reservations, especially with these reality TV shows and all these, it's just pumped up people and say, okay, we'll do this way and this way. They've given ideas to people. But in general, after, I'm pretty sure, and this, I'm sure, like any Indian wife who's now already married, been with a guy for a while, I can guarantee no guy really pulls a chair. Nobody really cares. It's not like a thing that if I go out, I got to hold her bag and open the door for her. There's no such thing.
What about holding hands in public? Mansi, that makes me so sad.
I can produce babies. Come on.
I know. I mean, yeah, you can put your ovaries to work, but hold my fucking bag.
No, in India, it's considered if you hold hands, it might actually end up producing a baby as well. So just.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a. I didn't know your ovaries get stimulated.
Yeah, just by holding hands.
I was not aware of that. I did not know that position of the Kama Sutra.
That's a different kind of position that they always refer to. That's the safest one.
Yeah, that's the safest, and yet you still get pregnant. So, in other words, no position is safe.
It's safe. No position is safe.
I mean, Mansi, like, so you come to America and what? Did your parents know that you were applying for, a scholarship? Like,
nobody knew. I'll be right back. Give me a second.
Yeah, sure. Go for it. I think Mansi's making a call to India right now.
Just getting some confirmation.
She's, Mansi's, are you getting water, Mansi? Get some vodka.
That's the vodka you said?
Get some margarita.
No, I am trying to see if my charger, why my charger is not working. It's not charging my.
Oh no! Is the phone gonna die as we speak?
No, it's my laptop, and I don't know why. It's supposed to be charging. It was working well just now, and suddenly it stopped.
I think your laptop might be a dude. It doesn't like all this conversation.
That could be possible.
Very possible. So why did your parents not know that you were coming to America? I mean, that's a big deal.
They didn't know that I was applying. They didn't know that I had a plan. But eventually, when I told them that I have a passport required, like I didn't own a passport, and none of the family members had a passport at that time because we never traveled abroad and there was no need. Right. So it was the first time I had to go and apply for a passport, and I think that's when the whole thing started. And they're like, "Okay, it's really happening." And I said, "Yeah, I got the admission, and I'm going." And at that time also, I was skeptical because not skeptical, but I don't know if I was scared of anything or if I was paranoid about the situation in America. Like, I came with $1,000 in my pocket. And right. I said, you know what, that's going to be my first month's rent and everything included. So basically, day two, I land. Day two, I find the place to stay and, set like whatever temporary place I have. And then I find a job. I got to do that because I'll be hand to mouth in like a month.
I mean,
yeah. So that's what I had, decided to come.
Which university did you go to?
I went to USC.
You went to USC. And when you go to USC, was that a full scholarship for you or no?
That one was not. But I think it was the other one. I think it was Drexel and Rochester, which were giving me the scholarship. Yeah.
There we
go. So why it doesn't give to masters? It gives to PhD. So I was told that, we don't give to anybody. I was like, all right.
Well, yeah, because you were coming for your master's, correct?
Right. I was coming for my master's.
Right, yeah. Because you had already done your undergrad there.
Right.
Why didn't you take Drexel or the other one that's paying for your full scholarship? Why USC?
I did some research and I said, which is the best of the 5 I've received? And then one of my friends from IIT Chicago said, hands down, USC, what are you talking about? And I was like, really? Is it that big of a deal? And then I ended up, yeah.
And what kind of master's degree did you get from USC?
Computer science.
You got a computer science.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to find a job once you got here?
It was, actually, once I straight away went from a very renowned multinational company straight up to a kitchen in a restaurant.
Listen, man, that's the immigrant dream, man. That's the immigrant dream right there.
It was interesting to see myself one day, I didn't know how to chop. I hated kitchen. I still hate kitchen. And I was working in a kitchen and I said, you know what, to hell with it. I will figure this shit out. Like, what do you want me to do? I was cutting turkey and beef and pineapple. And I said, I don't know how to do this. What is this cutter? I have no idea what is this meat hanging? And they said it's turkey. And I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? They're like, you run this machine like this and it'll slice it down. I was like, all right, this is easy. And then the next guy comes and he goes, oh, I'm Brahmin and I can't touch it. And I was like, I got this. Don't worry, it's easy. And he's like, no, but it's like some animal there. You can't do it. Like, I was like, it doesn't matter. It's a freaking job and I got to do this thing because I got to pay my rent. And I remember that, you know what, that job taught me. I said, you know what, you can do. But say put your mind into something, you can bloody do anything. It doesn't even matter. If you remove those blockers from your head, right, you can do anything in the world.
I mean, was this working at USC or was this working at a restaurant nearby USC?
USC. It was for the USC athletes.
Oh, it was for the USC athletes. So there, yeah. I mean, and did you grow up vegetarian? So was it odd for you to be touching all this meat?
I would eat chicken and fish only when I came here. But I was like, to hell with meat is meat. It doesn't matter. And you know what? If I have to do a job and whatever it takes, unless, I'm hurting someone or slaughtering someone, I'm not doing that. So I said, you know what? I can do this thing. I got this. And then I got to just learn things. So then she said, this is ranch and this is honey mustard and this is 1,000 islands. I was like, I don't know what this is. all you gotta tell me is like, you just teach me and I will learn this thing. And then I still remembered, for me, putting olive oil, and this is something which I've learned. I didn't know it. I mean, this is not what we did in India.
Right.
So it's nice to learn all of those things. And one day ago, and when I actually, started earning, and I went to a salad bar, that I was like, oh my God, that's ranch. That's honey mustard. And I said, yes, I know.
So now you're like slowly. I mean, when you went to USC is an expensive school. So like, did you also have to pay for your own master's degree?
Yes, of course. And it was super expensive. It took me some time, but then it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, did you had to take out a student loan to pay for it?
I did. And it took me like 2-3 years to pay it off. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, is your battery running low? Do you need to recharge?
It didn't work that side. I'm trying to plug it in, and it's like, it's not working. And actually, I just set this whole thing up today. Just for your show. I'll be honest. Reason being because I have not done a single show in this house. This is the first. Yeah.
Well, what about your phone? Is your phone charged? You can do it on your phone.
Can I?
Yeah.
How do I switch?
You just take your phone, the link I sent you, just click that link.
All right. Okay.
You get off this, and then I'll just bring you in via that.
Let's do that. Okay.
Yeah. And you can just leave the phone on the screen against your laptop, so it'll just.
Okay.
Yeah.
It says have a laptop. Open in Safari. Okay.
What, man? You're an engineer, Mansi. Why are you running out of battery? We're not. What is happening here?
I am hooked to a point which I didn't know in this new house that it doesn't work, or maybe I've not turned it on.
That's okay.
Yeah,
it's fine. I wanted to actually. I know while you're doing that, Mansi. I also wanted to actually ask you. I mean, you're coming to USC. You're like, it's your first time stepping out of the country. Period.
Yes.
First time.
Yes.
You get on a plane, and your parents are saying, oh my God, what are the wisdoms? Oh my God, don't see guys, don't see them alone, don't go out with them. What are some of the wisdoms your parents are dropping on you before you hop on a plane to come here? All right, I'm going to bring you in here. Mansi? Hello?
I am back.
There you go. Perfect. Oh my God, this picture is so much clearer too.
Really?
So better. Yeah. Oh my God, this is so much better.
Hi, sir. So yeah, I didn't have any. Honestly, everything was so fast and everything was so last minute that none of those questions were put to me, or like none of those warnings or anything. It was literally like, how does a dollar look like? I don't know. We just figured it out.
Right. You don't. I mean, you're going to what, like a currency exchange place, and you're like, give me $1,000.
Funniest thing, and I'm being very honest here. Literally, I didn't know what's a quarter and what's a dime and what's a cent. So I figured cent is like copperish, so I'll figure out that cent. And then I had to measure the quarter and dime, and I said, you know what, quarter is not the size. Quarter is the one which can get in for the laundry. So I laundry coin, and the rest are dime, I guess. So like that's how I would split the money. No idea what it means, what it does. Is it 25, 5 cents? No idea at that time. And I literally everything was a hush, hush, hush. So just figuring out things. I think 2 years of full hustle, learning about a country from scratch. I didn't know what is an intersection. Didn't know what's a jaywalk. I was so paranoid just to step down, just thinking that, somebody might just come up and say, oh, you're jaywalking. And I'd learned all kind of bullshit things and came half prepared. Now that I think about it, if I go to a new country without any knowledge, oh my God, I don't know, why would I do that?
You know what it is, Mansi? When we're young and when we're driven, we do a lot of stuff that as we get older, we're like, oh shit, I would never do that now.
I think, here's the thing. I would tell myself that even though that time it was a very impulsive decision, I think that is one of the decisions that's got me so far.
Sure.
And one of the major risks that I took. And I always commend myself, whether if I was a third person, I would be like, you know what, kudos to you, all that good stuff. But that's what you call taking a risk. And
Right.
that applies to every freaking person who has taken major risk to get major gains.
That's
And
right.
that applies even like people like Priyanka Chopra. I think it's a risk, even though she was very well established. She
Right.
left all of that, left everybody. Not that, she's at loss. She's not, she's still in connection with the country. But
Right.
end of the day, she is starting to build a new base. And
Right.
in America, especially South Asian, it's so hard to
Yeah.
cut through, in a new country. It's very difficult. You know about it.
That's right.
It's
That's right.
hard, and especially not being stereotyped, to have all kind of versatile roles. It's very difficult. So
Yeah.
leaving your base and starting from scratch, it's a tough job. And I think, again, the more risk you take, the bigger rewards you get. So it's a give and take. And I think I would still want to do that and want to take that risk.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it is, Monsi? It's like, I meet a lot of American-born kids here, right? Whether they be kids of any ethnicity, whether they be Jewish kids or even South Asian kids, or it doesn't matter. And the one thing that I've noticed is that these kids have so many options and so many privileges that they're so lost. Like when you ask them, what is it that you want to do? They're like, I don't know. I don't know what I know. I want to go to college and party. And
That's not even an ethnicity problem.
It's not an ethnicity problem.
That's a generation problem.
It's a generational problem. Is the same thing happening in India too? I don't know what's happening in Pakistan, but is that same thing happening in India?
It's a mixed blend. Again, same as here. It's a mixed blend. There are people who are lost. There are millennials who are so much into their phones that they don't have any self-esteem or any confidence. No public speaking experience. Forget public speaking. Just family speaking is so hard for them.
Right.
So much to ask for.
Yeah.
But there are people who are also well versed with the fact that technology is so fast, and especially in India, which is so technology driven, and people like it pays so much heed to upcoming technology. A lot of people end up really being a dropout is a cool thing also, which apparently is embedded in there. So with that concept, they're like, okay, we'll drop out and we'll go and join a startup. So a lot of them do that as well. And so it's a mixed breed of both, either too driven and, trying to achieve something and start their own business or startup, be an entrepreneur, which is also like a buzzword going on. And on the other hand, also being lost. Like there are different breeds.
Right. I mean, look, I have people that I know, like they have kids and they're just lost. They're like, well, I don't know what to do. And I feel like sometimes, Mansi, like for people like you and I, we come from another country. We came here with like just the amount of ambition. Maybe I sometimes wonder, maybe too many options is a bad thing sometimes.
It is.
Maybe sometimes you should just have limited number of options. You do your fucking best in it and you excel. And then once you're really good at it, then you can expand into other options.
Did you just say the recipe for dating? Because that's what's happening. Too many options is too bad.
Too many options. It's too many options. I can't have a drug addict and alcoholic. Huh?
When you have limited options, you're like, I only have these, whether you make it or break it, and otherwise, you'll be single for life. So then you're like, all right, I gotta get my together.
Yeah.
Options, you're just thinking and then just getting confused.
But you know what it is, Monty? Like, given the options that we have to pick from in Los Angeles in the dating world, I feel like those are limited options. Like, there aren't those options where you're like somebody who's family oriented, has their shit together, emotionally, financially, spiritually, age appropriate, right? Somebody who's emotionally available, somebody who wants to make a life with you. Those are incredibly limited option. Like we don't even have those options. I don't know, maybe you come across them, but I definitely fucking don't.
No, that's true. But okay. If I had to talk about the privileged and not so privileged people, I think that even if you think you're privileged and you're lucky, you might be mistaken. And if you think you're not privileged and you're unlucky, then also you could be mistaken. The reason being that if you are not so privileged, you have tried to take bets on things that you don't know or try to take risks. People like you and I, we've fallen so many times and lifted up and picked ourselves again and again that we're not anymore afraid to fall.
That's right.
It applies to any arena. Like even today, if like tomorrow I have a major project launch happening, it's gonna, things are gonna fail, and things are gonna blow up, and it's a it's a major organization. But it doesn't bother me that, oh my God, what if this happens? When it happens, we'll face it. We got this.
Right.
Your shows, you have shows, and they have a good massive audience, plus your rapport is on it. So with all of that, you're going to be like, either I sit at home and I don't want people to judge me, and I don't want people to critique me, or you're like, bullshit, I gotta go there, and if something fucking goes wrong, I will make sure that I bring it back again.
For sure.
From the situation you're coming from, you've taken risk, you've fallen down, but also come back again. With privilege, that's the issue, that you never get a chance to fall, and then you're too afraid when you come to the real world. You're like, oh shit, what if I fall?
Right. No, that's a very, very valid point. I think when you're being like treated with kid gloves all your life, and then all of a sudden you have to face the real world, it's daunting. It's terrifying, because people like you and I, we've eaten shit for so long. Like, I'm just like, it doesn't even faze me. It's like, next.
Yeah.
Give me the next place of turd. Like, I've been fucking there here already.
Yeah. Yesterday, somebody was telling me that one of his cousin is taking some wrong steps and investing money in some wrong areas of life, and he's been, he might lose a lot of money, and it's going to impact the family, and he was like super worried about him. One, he's sitting in America, the kid is in the cousin is in India. So he was all just paranoid what is going to happen. And I said, you know what, let him fall, let him lose, let him fail, let him understand what failure is. And that lesson is going to stay by, will remain with him all his life when he's making decisions for other things in his life. Not that I'm saying that that's the only way, but sometimes you got to fail to be able to understand you can get up again.
Right. Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I feel like with everything that we're talking about, I mean, when you came to America and you achieved all these amazing things, and you got yourself in USC and all that, were your parents like, good job, Mansi, we're so proud of you? What was that conversation?
I think, okay, I'm not too sure about those words, but I do remember.
You're telling me that your parents did not say, I am so fucking proud of you, Mansi. They did not use those words.
I don't think, I think it's in Indian culture not to say it out loud. Like, that's not a thing, maybe. But I do know that they were proud of me. One thing I know, which was a witness to it, that they were proud of me, was once after I graduated, I did some funky 10-day trip out of my car, and, it got published in Lean In, which is by Sheryl Sandberg. And that was one of the, I never expected my story to be published on that platform, which is a big deal in itself. And I happened to share this across my friends and my family. So somebody from India, one of my neighbor, I didn't even know her that well, she said, oh, your article we read. And I said, I don't even know you. I don't even know your name, but I think you're my neighbor. But how did you get to know about the article? And, so they said, oh, your parents sent us through WhatsApp. And that's when I realized that, going places in a different way. So there are different ways of maybe communicating.
Right. And you're right. I mean, in our culture, it's not very, honestly, Mansi, in my family,
expect it out of you, so what's the big deal?
Right, because you're always expected to be extraordinary. You're always expected to be extraordinary. So when you do stuff, you're just like, yeah, I expected that. I expected you to be extraordinary. It's funny because I asked my mom not too long ago. I asked her, I said, Mom, what do you think of my career and like the person that I've become? Like, what are your thoughts? And she said something to me that I never expected her to say to me. Because my mom and I have always had a very tumultuous relationship. And you know that. We've talked about it plenty. And my mom was never very encouraging of me. I think it was quite the opposite. My mom was very almost like demeaning of me. She would always say, I can't believe you're my kid. You don't look like me. You're like not very attractive. And, bullshit like that, like you grow up with.
That part I don't. The last statement is so bullshit. Like, you're not attractive. Who else? Like, I've seen like ugly.
You're like,
oh, what is wrong with you.
Aw, thank you. You know what it is, Mansi? As an adult, after going through years of therapy, I figured out why she was saying those things to me. That's because I'm literally a fucking replica of my mother. Like, if you put me and my mother next to each other, we're like replicas of each other. And I think my mom was just going through such a difficult time at the time that, you know, when she looked at me, I think when she looked at herself in the mirror, she saw ugliness, right? Because there was a lot of domestic violence in our house. There was my father would beat the hell out of my mom. There was a lot of physical violence. And I think my mom just felt ugly. So I think when she saw me and she saw a reflection of herself, she was like, if I'm ugly, then this reflection is ugly too. Right. So this is just me as an adult. But when you're a kid, you don't understand. You're just like, you're my parent. Like, I love you. Like, why are you talking to me like this? Like, why do you think I'm ugly? I mean, for me, I thought all my childhood, that I was so ugly that I had to work to be funny and to be really good in school and like do all these other things to be like, look, Ma, don't you love me? I'm amazing. I'm ugly, but I do these things, don't I? And I think as an adult, like, you know, when I had this conversation with her, she said to me, she's like, oh, you've become extraordinary. I was like, what? She was like, you have become extraordinary, something that I never expected you to become. These you have achieved things that my mind could never even fathom the things that you've achieved. Now, this is not something, Mansi, you and I know. This is not something that South Asian parent would ever fucking say. You know that. Because it's really difficult to get compliments out of South Asian parents.
I'm surprised. I
was super surprised. I was like, do you have a fever? Like, do you want to take a temperature? Like,
what happened? Where did it come out of?
Wow. What is happening? But I think for my mom, I mean, look, I'm the first person in my family to say, I love you. You know, when we hang up the phone, or I'd be like, I love you. I miss you. And I remember the first time I said it to my mom was like, oh, what? What did you just say? Like, I said it to my brothers and they were like, what? Like, it was odd.
It's odd. Yeah.
It's like, you don't emote, like, you don't connect, and it's so needed. Like, we need to express to each other, hey, I fucking love you. Like, I miss you. You are my blood. Like, I love you. And I think that's a very big thing. What about your mom? Have you ever had that kind of an interaction with your mother on that level?
I think on that level, the most, the closest one was, you know, when my father was really battling and he was on the deathbed, and that's when I think the family really came together. It's the dark.
Did he have cancer also?
No. He had a kidney failure, which ended up, you know, with a heart attack. So, well, he had a heart attack, and then he had a kidney failure. He had a heart attack, and then he had the second heart attack. So basically,
and he must have been young. He was young, right?
He was young. Yeah, he was fairly young, and it was just 62. But that happened suddenly, and he passed away. But right before he passed away, I think the entire family kind of got together, and that was a very emotional moment. And I think that happened after, like, us coming together after years, I don't know, decades. Yeah.
Right. I mean, would you say that you had a good relationship with your dad?
It was okay. I wasn't so close to him, but it was okay. Yeah, I was like, I think I am very much along your lines, what you say, you know, trying to say that, you know, I have done this and I've achieved this and I've achieved this, just to get a validation, just that trophy, just to get that compliment.
Right.
I have a lot of caliber and I can do so much more, and I think that validation kind of was missing, and I think it's the same. I recently saw this, which was on Netflix. I forgot the name. It's from Friends or something. And there's this one girl who runs her own show at the level of Ellen's show and Oprah's show, and they kind of portraying that, you know, how that female is having this. You know, she's driven, she does all these things, but she also has a drug addict mom, and all this while, when she gets a very major show, she books for her own major show, and a major network books her, she goes back to the mom saying that, hey, you know what, this happened. And the mom goes, all right, well, I knew well, good money, good for you. And then again, she comes back saying, oh my God, she couldn't even appreciate that I've achieved so much and I'm now on a big network. Oh my God, I was like, oh, I can see what this is, when she's trying to get the validation from the mom. She's trying to still convince her. And in her worst state, she's like, please, at least now consider me as a successful person.
Right. And Mansi, all those words, right? Validation, compliment, it all just boils down to love. Like you're really just talking about love, right? Those are all just layered words, right? But at the core of it, it's love, right? You're just saying, look, I achieve all these things. Aren't you proud of me? Don't you love me that
Right.
I've achieved and done all those things, right?
Yeah.
And I think, I feel like so much of it is, it's also cultural. It's also familial. It's not necessarily just cultural. I've met tons of Desi families, South Asian families that have Indian and Pakistanis that have wonderful parents. They love to express to their children how much they love them and they appreciate them and they uplift them. So I would say that it's probably a family thing. It's like saying in America, I can't even say America, like white families or black families or whatever, or Latino families all uplift their children. It's like that it's just family to family. People are just people, right? Around the world, people are just people. They're just trying to do the best they can. And I feel like, in our family, that was like never really a thing, right? It's we don't express love. You're not allowed to express love, but rather it translates, and it's also conditional. It's also very conditional. If you do this, then I will love you.
I think more important, I think it's also awkwardness. There's this awkwardness. Like, it's not normal to say, I love you. It's not normal to say, you know what, you make me proud. I don't think so. I feel like it's awkward for them to just like say it out that, hey, you know what, you did this. I'm very proud of you. Like, that statement itself there's an awkwardness to that. And on the other hand, just saying that, hey, go and cook and clean and whatnot, that's not awkward. That's normal. That just comes naturally to them because that's the norm of the
well, normal because it's been normalized, right? Who normalized it? People did.
That's been normalized, but what was supposed to be normalized, that's just like saying things like that I love you,
right,
I care for you, or I got your back, or you can always rely on, or like some basic things. It's just some basic thing, but those are in America, it's there. Even in American Indian families, it's there because it's part of the American culture. But in India, I don't think it's like it. Maybe the more upper class are still able to imbibe from the West, but most of the normal Indian households, they don't really say words like, oh, I'm proud of you, or it's very hard. And especially I've seen this that for a man of the house and a male in the house, it's hard for them to convey this. I don't know what's the thing. Is it ego or is it something else? But it's hard for them to say it out loud that, I am proud of you. It just that thing.
Well, because just like you said, it's not normalized, right? It's kind of being like, oh, what are you, being a weirdo? Oh, what are you, a Westerner now? Oh, what do you live in America? And it's just like, it has nothing to do with geography. It just has to do with humanity.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it has nothing to do with that. James said, it was only after my father passed away when my family started telling each other, we love you. I mean, that's the same thing in my family, James. And thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, does your family, because you have a younger sister, and when you talk to your mom and your younger sister, do you guys express to each other and say, hey, I love you?
Yeah, I think now my sister and I have started talking more often, I think we've started even exchanging some of our thoughts and how you're feeling, good, bad, ugly. We share more comparatively. And things have changed. The dynamic has changed quite a lot.
Yeah.
And in good ways, bad ways, both. And again, I think I read this somewhere that a death is one thing that can either bring the family together or can make it fall apart.
Right.
And so true, in certain ways, it was just like, oh my God, this is the end. And then suddenly, when there was this void and everybody just came together suddenly. So there's this weird thing that happens, which I was not aware of, and I did not know what to expect. But when things were happening, you just didn't know what to do and how to handle. But for the period of time when you have that void, The
Yeah.
person is gone. I think people come together and people tend to appreciate each other more, forget about the bullshit about cultures and background and what your religion says and what your country says and all that crap. Like, come on, you're a human first.
That's right. No, I absolutely 100% agree with you. I mean, Monson, now I mean, tell me how you even got into stand-up comedy. I mean, how do you go from, getting your master's at USC and then becoming an engineer and then being like, you know what, I'm gonna go do stand-up comedy now. Like,
Actually,
how do you get into that?
there's a segment missing from there. So I did my engineering, then I also did radio show in LA for a year. I a Pooja Batra show. Then after that, I was bored of radio. I left that. I did make a short film. I was part of a couple of short films. I was part of a bunch of film festivals, and I was exploring. And I wanted to have that creative side out. And while that was happening, I happened to date a comedian, and that happened. And when
He who shall not be named.
who shall not be named. So when I started dating, I was not having the intention to perform or really be on stage, and that was never the intention. Was very supportive. I'm hoping I can be called as a supportive girlfriend, but I was very supportive and I was very much into the shows just as much as he was, because I was being his cheerleader. So I would literally watch and be able to give feedback and stuff. So who's lolling here? Who's lolling?
Malcolm said he wants a name. He's like, give me the
No one
name.
is given here. You might know him though, but I'm gonna tease you now. I'm not gonna give you the names here.
I'm not giving that name.
Yes. So I mean, we broke up, and it didn't work out. It went for a while, and it ended. Well, we broke up. Not just I was missing the relationship, but I started missing the shows. And when I started, I was like, oh my God, I'm really wanting to go and watch these shows. But I was like, no, I've always been on the other side. I've always been in green room. I've always been behind the stage. So I know what happens. You're checking the mic, you're checking the lights. Like, I was part of that whole regime. So I happened to not accidentally, I was looking at Groupon and I was like, oh, some deal is going on, some comedy classes. Okay, I'll just buy it, and some cheap deal, doesn't matter. Even if I don't go, it doesn't matter. Just book it. Out of this impulse, I just booked it, and I was like, no, nobody's going. And I don't need to go. Are you mad? Who's gonna go? And then the day came, and I got some notes from my teacher, and he said, you gotta bring this. I'm like, oh shit, I got a homework to do. So the nerd in me is like, all right, let's just do some homework and go there and just go and take the classes. Ended up taking the classes. In the middle of these classes, I tried to bribe myself and said, you know what, let's give it a shot and go to one of the open mics. And I dragged myself, told myself I'll get myself a Starbucks coffee to go on an open mic just for the heck of it. Went to Haha Club, did my open mic, came out, and I got a call from, when you sign up, you put your number in there, right? Got a call from a producer saying, I loved your content. And I was like, are you crazy? What do you mean? He's like, oh, it's so different because I've never had this, Indian girl coming and telling her story. I was like, you crazy. And I'm like, what do you want? She goes,
what were you saying? What were you telling? What were your jokes? What was the story you were telling?
How, an Indian female thinks when she comes here, what are her challenges? What is she facing? And then the dating life from an Indian perspective, someone who's coming from outside, coming to LA, that kind of stuff, those jokes. And then, from an Indian standpoint, how do people perceive you when you're wearing a sari or when you're wearing a bindi, that kind of stuff. It's totally different from, what Americans or whites or blacks or dick jokes. It's not that.
Dick jokes. Dick jokes make the world go round, Mansi.
Well, that's true. Eventually everybody lands up with a dick joke.
Yes, they do.
Now I do. So they said, she's like, you're going to be on my show. Would you like to be? And I said, no, I can't. I don't know what to say. Like, I've not even reached my showcase of the class. And she said, you just come up and just say for perform for 5 minutes. And I was like, all right. So the good thing about America is, people are very supportive. People are very genuinely nice. So I went up on stage and I said, this is my first time, guys. So just suck it up and listen to me. Because I want to say something. Even if you don't laugh, doesn't matter. It's my first time. And everybody was so supportive. Like, yeah, that was the best. And you know what? that gave me a kick. I said, oh my God, this is something. But still, I was so paranoid and shitting in my pants. I'm like, I still have the footage and I look at it and I'm so embarrassed, so awkward. I did the whole thing and I just left. Then I did my showcase. And still, I was not planning on pursuing, Mona. There was no plan to do comedy until I think around the same time, after 4 shows in 3-4 months or 5 months, my father's news happened. I think that hit me hard, and that was like, it's the end of life. And I was like, all right, you know what? I got that time I had a spot. I got a spot in Ice House, and somebody's like, hey, would you want to do this? And I said, oh, actually, I'm right now at funeral. And she's like, no, it's not this one, it's next one. I was like, idiot, I am at my father's funeral. Like, what do you expect me to say?
Right.
And then I think after a month, when the date was coming closer, I was like, you know what? This is the best distraction I can have.
Right.
So I think that's when it picked up, and then there was no turning back.
Right. I mean, you've been doing comedy for how long now, Mansi?
I started in 2015, and now 2021. Yeah.
2015. Okay. So yeah. So you've been doing it about 5-6 years now.
Yeah.
Do you feel like doing stand-up also helps you somehow in your day gig of being an engineer?
Oh, I have to tell you this. You have no idea what happened recently. So I work for one of the major networks, and we have a lot of other shows. One of them being Mike and Donnie's show. It's so funny that I do the engineering side of broadcast and, delivering those shows and the engineering aspect of it. But I definitely deal with shows and, all the content delivery. So one day and I know the show names, all the list of shows that go through my system. So, and out of blue, I was looking at in my Instagram, found one of the artists, one of the comic I had performed with in several times. I performed with her, Sairi. She was also recently, this is like not 2 weeks back, she was on Mike and Donnie's show, and it just happened, Mona, that literally my engineering side and my comedy side just came together. I was like, wait a second, what I'm working on is actually my friend on my screen. And I was just so elated. I said, you know what? It's to a point where both the worlds actually coincide today.
That's wonderful. Does she know that you're an engineer for this network?
She does know that, and I told her, I said, dude, she had put a poster out there that tomorrow I'm going to be on Mike and Donnie's show, and I was like, first you're going to come to me because it's going to come to my system, and then they recorded the live show on Zoom, and then it was in my system, and I said, girl, I have you on my screen right now. It was very interesting to see the whole situation where I realized that me working hard in both the spaces has come to a point where I can say that, hey, you know what, as an artist, I know her, and I can also be from that side. Plus, as an engineer, I'm on this side. It just feels like two worlds meet at some point.
I mean, what do you want to do, Mansi? In the next 5 years, do you want to eventually kind of transition out of engineering into stand-up comedy? What do you want to do?
I always think about it as I'd never like putting myself in this structure. I don't like a structure. I hate to put myself as an engineer. Also, I tend to, diversify myself. There was a time I was expert in Microsoft. Then 3 years back, I was an expert in Google Cloud. Today, I'm an expert in Amazon Cloud. Totally different. But I like to diversify myself. Similarly, comes to artists, I was doing radio, then I was doing movies, and now I was doing comedy, and then I hosted a bunch of shows. So I don't like to put myself in a bucket and say, in a structure and say, this is who I am, because I want to explore. You're doing something like this, it may not be stand-up comedy, but this is so much creative, which brings so much authenticity to a conversation where a lot of people love to listen and say, oh, I have dealt with something similar. So it's not comedy, but it's so authentic. So I feel like, it's similar to what you're doing. It's just, I don't want to put myself in any shell.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not even so much about putting yourself in a shell, but like, when you kind of, like for myself, right? Like in the next 10 years, like let's say 5 years, 10 years, like, I want to become a successful executive producer. That's what I want to do, right? That's like kind of my ultimate goal, right? And I still want to be able to do stand up, and I still want to be able to do these fun things and put on shows, but I ultimately want to be an executive producer. So I think in those terms. So I guess for you, because you have your footing in two worlds, you have a
I want to walk like that.
and you still kind of, so I wonder if you're going to be kind of, you're going to have your footing in both those worlds for the next 5, 10, 15 years.
I would want to. I still would want to. I do want to excel in both the worlds. But definitely, I wouldn't say they're two different worlds. There's so many times when that side of the world coincides with my other side in several aspects. Whether even if it's like public speaking to talking in an executive meeting, it all coincides. Like that same persona is helpful in both the ways, I feel. You end up actually having, like how I think Sam was saying, he makes like jokes technical or like logical. It's just the way his brain functions, and that's because he's an engineer. So
that's right. Samson's an engineering too, right? Yeah. I mean, it's your volume went away for a sudden.
Oh no, I said I can understand that.
Right. No, I can totally understand that too. I mean, we're gonna start wrapping up, Mansi. But what do you have? I mean, have you done any shows during the pandemic online? What's the jam?
So I did a couple of Zoom shows, but I think my whole energy comes from my audience. I really feel, that whole feel of being in a room and talking to people, or experiencing their laugh. I feel that's the whole essence. It's not just one way conversation or just giving your throwing out your jokes. So I miss that. So I did a couple of Zoom shows, and I just didn't get a feel of it. So I stopped. Then I started a new thing with another organization where I was interviewing a lot of renowned people or COVID doctors, COVID patients, so that we can get the expertise in the house. That was interesting. I think that was a really good, refreshing experience, different from what I was doing earlier in stand-up. Now I am wanting to do something. I put something together, but with my new house, I have not been able to do it.
That's right. I mean, and congrats, you bought a new place.
Thank you. Well, now it's official. Now that it's on the camera and recorded, it's all official.
It's official, and now you don't have to worry about now you can have a guy move in with you if he doesn't have a house.
That's the plan.
You're like, I don't move in with dudes. Dudes move in with me.
That's so true. Well, you know what? It can be both ways. I'm not saying that one way or the other, but I'd rather have. Well, you know what? When you're with a woman like that, then there's a lot in the store. So for both like us, I think people should open up their minds.
Yeah. I mean, no, I mean, look, we may come in a really sweet package, but we have a little bit of thorns. But trust me, those thorns are good for you.
Yeah, but it's too boring if you have only just like sweetness. Oh my God, you're gonna die of diabetes. I'm sorry. Like, if that's what you want, you're just too boring. If you just like
right? Yeah. You're here we go. James said, thanks, Mona and Mansi. Another great chat. Have a wonderful weekend. And then Malkit said, God bless all. Have a nice time. Good luck to your new adventures. Thank you very much, James and Malkit. Appreciate it. Mansi, where can people follow you?
So on Instagram, it's Machhar, Machchar, which means mosquito, and I suck the blood.
Suck the blood. I'm so glad you said blood and not something else.
I know that I had to spell it out. You know what? Like, well, that too, but we'll talk about that in our other show.
Those are separate dick jokes we do. That's for the stage.
Yeah, not for this one. Then you can find me Mansi Mehra on Facebook and on YouTube, or you can just find mansimehra.com, and then all of my links will be there.
Awesome. Mansi, I love you. Thank you very much for doing this.
And I love you too, and thanks for having me. This is so much fun, and thanks for
Same here.
giving me this kick to get things sorted. Because
I'm so glad.
It's so good energy. This is so good.
Awesome. Well, I love you, and I will talk to you soon, my friend.
Love you too.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. was a lovely Mansi Mehra. I know you guys, I enjoyed that conversation so much because I also learned so much about how Mansi thinks. I think I've known her for a while and we've had some really deep conversations, but today was also really good because I got to see a different side of Mansi too. You guys, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do. It would mean the world to me. You can go to youtube.com/Mona Sheikh Comedian. You can also follow me on TikTok and Facebook with the same Mona Sheikh Comedian. And of course, Instagram and Twitter at Mona's Comedy. Always a pleasure. Have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday. Stay safe out there. Have a good night.